uh, kind of say hello and good morning and how you doing, and we're gonna, as always, I try to do my best to make sure that these um, meetings and events are engaging and informative at the same time. So, uh, just to let you know, a couple of things, a little housekeeping notes. I will be again at the Pennsylvania Workforce Development Association's conference. Um, be speaking there at both their youth symposium as well as their main event. So that's been consistent for the youth one is actually new because they just kind of started doing the youth one, but the main one. So that'll be in the end of April. If you have not attended one of their sessions, if you can, if there's funding available for you to go, I would go because man, the networking, the people you get a chance to meet, it's amazing. Because any of you, I know some of you have been there. Um, what are your thoughts? I mean, guys, love to hear. I know I'm a big fan. So, has anyone else been there that would echo what I'm saying as far as the conference itself? Anyone else attended it before? Hmm. Okay. Well, if not, it's
Sorry,
definitely
what conference are you talking about? I went to get
the
coffee.
yeah, the Pennsylvania Workforce Development Association
Oh yeah,
conference.
yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
great. I think I'll
Mm-hmm.
be going this
Mm-hmm.
year.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, yeah. It's a great con. I was just sharing with him. I'll be speaking there again. Jenny agreed. I got to get back with her to make sure to be. I'm looking at doing two sessions, and I wanted this to be a session at the conference. You know what I mean? Because when we started doing this, we realized that in this industry there's such a great need, and so um, that hopefully that proposal will be accepted. And then we're doing one. We do a lot of work with earn programs, and we're doing a program. Okay, there you go. All right, there you go. I see you, Don. And so the other one is going to be with a group from South Central PA Works, where we're going to be talking about empowering your earned staff. Because right now we're working. We have a project. We're going. We did one half a year with them already, and we're about to do a second half of the year where we're really working with the staff to build culture, to build client connections. But instead of just giving them a one-time training, they're getting coaching and everything else. So it's been pretty positive. And the response has been actually phenomenal. It's been very good. And so we're working with the Earn Adult team, and then then we're gonna look at the youth once we complete this project with them, which will be completed around June. So some of the team from over at the South Central Pennsylvania Works going to be work there with me doing that one, and then we're going to be at this is the big one and the national one, the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. I don't know if any have ever been to that, but if you have not, I would consider that as well. NAWB is a very good conference. Dawn, I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are on the board of NAWB, and but strangely enough, I've not done much with that organization. And you think in workforce development, I've done things with just about everyone, but I have not done much with NAWB. And so I used to tell Ron Painter when he was heading up the show there, I said, Ron, what were we doing, man? You got to get me in here, buddy. But it's a great organization though. So, and my friend Walter Simmons is on. I think he's on the board for NAWB. So, yeah. Where are they holding that one this year? Do you know?
It's always in DC.
It's always in DC. Oh, okay. Well, they need to change that. You gotta go other places sometime.
They got
Yeah.
a sweet they must have a sweet deal because they ain't moving.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So, all right. So let me kind of start off this session today a little different. We've been talking about storytelling. I just like each person to take a half a second. Just tell me a little bit about what do you think has been sort of significant for you so far? Like, what have you captured from some of the stuff that we've been talking about? Because we want to make sure that we're not just blazing ahead and there's not questions or certain things. So I'm going to call names instead of asking people to volunteer, and I'm going to do it in the typical Brady Bunch fashion. Some of you are too young to understand who the Brady Bunch is, but they used to have these boxes that we're in. They must have known about Zoom a long time ago. because they had this a long time ago in the Brady Bunch. So, Terry, what do you think has been one of the things that it doesn't have to be anything significant or anything, but what have you kind of taken away from some of the things we've been discussing during this art of storytelling training?
For me, it's really been about coming up with examples
Mm-hmm.
of, um, how my contribution affects or brings value to the whole
Mm-hmm.
outcome of what we do.
Right.
Um, right now, I'm not working directly with customers. I haven't for many, many years.
Right.
When I did work with customers, there was more of an immediate gratification, and the stories were there on a daily basis. So it was kind of
Yeah.
easier to come up with examples of,
Mm-hmm.
positive
Mm-hmm.
outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're more so based on data, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think just really getting my my mind going to identify an example
Mm-hmm.
that I can share,
There it is.
to form it
Mm-hmm.
into a story.
That's great. And even though again, when I look at organizations as a whole, in particular in this space, you're absolutely correct. Like you're not in the trenches like with the day to day and interacting, but since we're all a team, our collective stories mean something. Like for instance, if let's say if someone was to go through your organization, they were doing some kind. I'm just creating a scenario like an audits, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and they're talking to different people. One of the strengths would be probably how people communicate, their positions and their successes and things like that. But there's a consistency with it. You know what I mean? It's not like people in 20 different pathways with this thing. It's kind of like this is kind of who we are as an organization. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, because you're defining it. Like if you ever go into let's say not to try to compare it and make it this simplistic, but like if you go into a Walgreens, they got the statement "Be well," you know, and so you walk in, the first thing they all say to you is look at you like three people at the cashier counter, and they're saying "Be well," and so you come to define that organization by that statement, like it's almost like I don't know what kind of statement it would be, but they're kind of communicating. So stories to me, you know, um, really help to shape the perception. This is kind of something to think about. The perception people have of an organization. One of the things I tell people all the time when I do these trainings, we've done more trainings in workforce development than I can even count. But I share folks, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more in a few moments, that no matter what happens in an organizational setting or interaction with a client, be very careful of your words. Be very careful of your words. And we're going to talk about that in just a few moments because, you know, words paint a picture too, you know. And what you're going to hear in this training is that stories are nothing but words. That's all they really are. Now you can tell a story nonverbal too, people can get it that way. And so we got to understand that, there's that continuity in what we're saying about what we do that paints a picture to the outside world. Like I mentioned to you, we were contracted when I ran programs. I no longer run programs, but when we did, we were under WIA. So that predated WIOA. And I what I'm talking to you about, this was like daily conversation with me and my staff. I said, listen, we're not just here serving clients, we're painting a picture to the community. And the way we communicate, the way we say things, the way we do things, the way we carry ourselves, everything, every last one of us, no matter what job position we have, speaks volumes to who we are as an organization collectively. So our vision, our mission, things like that all play a significant role. So thank you for that, Terry. I appreciate what you shared. It means a lot. Thank you. Josette, you're next in the Brady Bunch window.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Okay. So what I've got out of this training so far is that I came into it not feeling like I had a story. So what I've learned is that I absolutely do have a
That's it.
story.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
looked at it as I looked at storytelling as what was I getting out of my
Mm-hmm.
contribution to our organization. But I've
Mm.
learned from this that it's not, my story isn't just about what I'm getting from it, but
Yes.
what I'm giving to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
where I didn't feel like my contribution was as significant as it is,
Mm-hmm.
it absolutely is because I'm administrative support. So y'all can't do
Mm-hmm.
nothing without me.
That's right. Hey, I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna hit this reaction. And I'm gonna heart you right there with that one.
So that's what I've got
Yeah,
out
I
of it. I
love
was
that.
looking
I
at it
love that.
from an
Yeah.
inward feeling, but I'm
Yeah.
learning from just even talking to
Mm-hmm.
other people that
Mm-hmm.
you know how important I
Mm-hmm.
am to our organization, and I didn't look at it like
Absolutely. Unequivocally. I got it. Here we go. Because, I like to tell stories because this is a storytelling workshop, right? And so when we were running our WIA programs, our administrative support person was lady named Judy, but the way it worked with Judy is back then, it's not necessarily like that now, but she was kind of out front, so when people come in, Judy was the first face that they would see. She's the first point of contact when they would call. Everybody used cell phones now, but back then you just had phones and it all routed through one location. You say that to some of the millennials, they look like, "What do you mean by that?" It's like, there's a phone there, and that was everybody's point of contact. It's so I remember saying to Judy, and she was just absolutely the best. I said, "Judy, I just want to say something to you." And she's such a sweetheart. She said, "Coach, yeah, sure, Coach. What do you?" I said, "You're the most important person in this organization." And she said, "But I'm not, Coach. You're running the program and people inviting you out to speak. And, you got invited to the White House to share some things, Coach." No, I said, "No, you are." I said, "Because you're the first point of contact for a lot of the folks here." And I said, "You set the tone." And I said, "The way you smile, the way you interact with people, the way you just naturally do that, it makes it easier for me and others here to do their job."
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I said, "We could not do this without you." And she just thanked me for that. But it's the truth. I just, wanted to know. Yeah. So you're absolutely right, Gisette. I mean, you may not be in the same capacity Judy was, but whatever you're doing there, it's definitely on point. So Dawn, what about you? You're next in the box. Hmm.
It's interesting. I'm a communications professional,
Hmm.
so
Sure.
storytelling is not a far um it's not a far topic from my heart. And I've always
Hmm.
sort of lived in that space
Yeah.
in some capacity in my career. But
Hmm.
this series has made me broaden my perspective on
Mm.
storytelling and
Yep.
help me align kind of what I already knew to some new concepts and some new
Hmm.
ways of thinking about our stories. For instance,
Hmm.
I believe in personal mission statements. I believe that everyone should have a personal life mission statement. I mean, and for me, that is that leave, I always leave people, places, and spaces better than how I first encountered them. I
Hmm.
never want to leave a space worse off after I leave it or a person.
Hmm.
I tell my kids that, and for their chores, I say if you go in the kitchen and it's one dish in the sink, leave. The
Hey,
better leaving it better means washing that one dish. That's the better, right?
that's the better.
That's
Yeah.
the small better
Could
that
you
I'm
come? Could you
talking.
come talk to my house, please? Go ahead. No, I'm good.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
the stories that are important to me align with that mission statement. So that's
Hmm.
helping me to consolidate the bucket of stories that I could tell
That's it.
publicly or in certain things. Because there's so many stories, right? I mean, I'm almost 50
Hmm.
years old. It's a lot of stories
Hmm.
there. But
Hmm.
aligning the stories that go with that mission is helping me to really focus on a few certain stories that really
Yeah.
are close to me that I could be passionate about. So that's what I've gotten
I
from
love that.
this.
I love that. Thank you. I'm gonna give you. Y'all don't use your emojis around. That's what they got them down there for you. You can pop a few of them every now and then if you want to. And And so yeah, you're absolutely 100% correct. And one thing you said, and I hope everybody would take notes to what she said, bucket of stories. I like that. You know what I mean? Like you said, and I'm older than you, so I got more I got more story. I got a whole lot of stories. Matter of fact, my son who's on there said, Dad, you should write a book because you got a lot of stories, you know. But you realize that you do want to narrow it down, in particular what we're trying to do in these trainings, to a few stories that are appropriate for different scenarios. You know what I mean? And so, you know, maybe, and we're going to have time to practice that today. We're going to give you copious time to practice particular categories that, you know, that we need to kind of practice our stories on based upon the audience and who we're speaking. So thank you. Jennifer, you there? I'd like to
I
hear your
am, yes. Good
talk to us
morning.
about, good morning. Talk to us about what you walked away with so far.
Yeah, so I think for me, the importance of using stories to create that personal connection or just
Mm-hmm.
taking a connection to the next level. So I am working with a newer program that deals with individuals who may have been impacted by the opioid crisis, and that
Mm.
is a
Oh
very
boy, that's
vulnerable
huge.
population,
That's
right?
huge. Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not always coming out there and telling you what I'm going to do for you. It's building that personal connection, having those stories, whether it be a success story or a
Mm-hmm.
story of, how we overcome some barriers,
Mm-hmm.
just to be more authentic in our interactions with not
Mm-hmm.
only, the potential customers, but also with the community and the providers that I'll be working with.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Excellent job. Excellent job. I mean, you're right. And I mean, and the thing is, especially when you talk about what the group that topic is just it's national and it's huge, and that's a very sensitive area in our country right now. And so to be able to take the time to understand how to craft my stories in that space is something special. Dominic, what's going on, man? What did you kind of
Uh,
walk away with?
um, my role is a little bit different. So I do more of the sales with the employers. So
Mm-hmm.
storytelling is good if you can relate it to a
Yeah.
niche industry,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a little bit different because a lot of times if you go on too much of a tangent, they just want you to tell you what they want, and then they kind of are like, "All right, it's good."
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit
Yep.
different. But if you have a story of how like like if I was going to sell a
Mm-hmm.
program to an employer, if you could have
Right.
a success story of a similar company that used the product and was
Yep.
happy with it, that's probably. But
Mm-hmm.
for
Okay.
my field, I've noticed that if you go too deep with a story, especially if it's if it's a business, they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of indirectly they kind of cut you off a little bit too. At some point, they'll kind of like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
we got another meeting, got to wrap it up, like get to.
Mm-hmm.
But no, like yeah, like storytelling is good if you have a story that connects to the company or the product that you're selling.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Job well done, man. Appreciate that. Let me give you a little thing there as well. My emoji. There you go. Thank you for sharing that, Dominic. Daryl, real quick. I was looking at boy, time is moving. Yeah. What about your thoughts? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, the so as an artist, I it's interesting to see how things work in just this is going to sound a little bit off or not off, but a little strange, but in reality, how things connect. Um, so I look at each person's story as a very subjective experience, like art, and we can sort of weave and create these realities that honestly have the potential to transform not only on a like financial or physical level, but on a deeper level, like um, health level. Like stories have a deep rooted impact in the way we think about our self and how we're able to navigate our life. And for instance, for me, I'm big into movies like that, like I'm big into, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and C.S. Lewis, writers of Narnia, Chronicles of Narnia and whatnot, and how these guys said that there's a world out there where these creatures exist, where dragons exist, where unicorns exist in this other interdimensional plane, but they brought it alive through these fantastical stories of Middle Earth and Narnia and the Shire and all these characters like the Hobbit. They feel so real when you read the story about the ring, and I connect it back to my life. So
yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. Thank you, man. That's excellent.
Yeah.
You kind of got some feedback because we're in the same space, but
your world is
just
just
unique in the fact that
you know,
it's all storytelling.
Yeah.
When you think about it. So anyway,
Melinda.
Melinda, if you can come on, because I know you were having some Wi-Fi issues.
Yeah, my apologies. I had an issue with the Wi-Fi today.
It's okay. Okay, that's no problem.
As Terry and Joseph know me, I'm not good with speaking in the public at all, even a small group.
Yeah.
So I'm learning this storytelling, and it's helping me to craft our contribution of my co-work initiative, basically, and related to educator and student. I'm working with the youth right now, so I'm with the middle and high school kid and trying to educate them, the next career pathway or financial literacy. Sometimes it's hard to connect with them at some level. So from learning in this training, I think it will help me use the story to tell them better.
That's good.
Whether it's
That's
from
good.
my personal background or from the
work related.
educational, background.
That's good. Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I appreciate you taking the time to share that, because I want to make sure, I can keep going and going, but I want to make sure, that you all I just really appreciate it, because I want to make sure that it makes sense to you. You know what I'm saying? Like when you go through trainings, a lot of times people plow through trainings, but the question does it resonate? You know what I mean? And that's really important. So thank you, Melinda, for sharing your thoughts. Terry, you have a hand up.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to just kind of throw it out there, because although like Melinda said that it's not that she's not good at speaking, I think she's just not really comfortable with speaking. But the interesting thing is Melinda has the ability through her project development, through her event planning, to tell a story. Just her efforts. Once she's really amazing at putting her ideas and her visions on paper and facilitating all of the activities and events that Monco Works provides for our youth programming. And so I think that there's other ways of telling a story than just verbally. And obviously Daryl having that, artistic, creative background, I'm sure, through his art, he's telling a story. So it's not always, just how we, verbalize a story or even, write a story. I think it comes out in a lot of other different ways. And I just kind of wanted to point that out to Melinda, because she might not feel like she has the confidence or the ability to tell a story verbally, but she does an amazing job through her efforts in event planning and project development. I'm sure, Josette can attest to that as well.
That's good. Listen, thank you. And I'll tell you something. I just want to say this, Terry. Thank you for that contribution. And what I want us to understand through this training is I want those kind of contributions. Please add them to this training. When I do this, my goal is not to be the sage on stage. My goal is for us to collectively work together to produce, an outcome. So Terry, that's spot on because you're right. We don't always tell stories by our words. Sometimes we tell stories by our deeds, you know what I mean? And by our actions and the way we do things, and I'm gonna share this with you. Matter of fact, since we're there, I want to go into something real quick and show we got to do have obviously these PowerPoints. But I want to share this with you because I want to share this a person in my life that didn't say much, but impacted my life tremendously, and it goes and that's my grandmother. That's my grandmother, Adele. And Daryl drew this, by the way. And she was a one sentence person. I don't think she said more than this one sentence the majority of my life, and that is, it's going to be all right, baby. No matter what challenge or problem I brought her way or anybody in the family, it just didn't even matter, could y'all see this okay? Does this come this fine? Yeah. It really didn't matter, so I grew up hearing all my life, it's going to be all right, baby. So when, Terry, we're talking earlier about the challenges that people are having and getting on here, the first thing that came to my mind was, what do you think? It's going to be all right, baby. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's going to be all right. I mean, there's some things that are within your control and there's some things that you have no control over. You know what I mean? And this situation is a confluence because I think to some extent I could have done things better. I'll take, ownership of that. But to sit here and get ready to train you all and stressing out over it would not produce a decent training for y'all. You know what I mean? Because my mind would be too locked in on that. So stories like this become, if I can just give you sort of a term, and this is also connected to what you're sharing with others, a good story, be it verbal, nonverbal, as you said, Terry, could be a default mechanism. It's be something that you can go back to, So I mean, when I mean it's so ironic that I put this in here because I literally was thinking this as I was hearing about the different challenges people had getting in. I said, it's going to be all right, baby. So what can you do? Record it. And then you get to send it out to everybody and get a recording. So that weren't able to get it. So you start to rethink things and shift things. So stories are really powerful, for that reason as well. It gives us something that's a foundation that I'm going to talk about in just a few moments. These are just some people on my team. I was going to share that a little earlier, but I'm not going to do that now. But anyway, so we're going to talk about quickly about understanding the needs of different audiences and tailoring your story and building your story. All right, literally one category at a time. So you'll see some of the categories that we're going to talk about here shortly, but the categories are kind of aligned with what we originally started talking about when Jennifer and I just had a conversation about doing this training. So we're going to make sure that we keep it in that space, Now, one thing I want to say about stories as well, please write this down as a note. Stories are transformative, or stories can transform, okay? And so if you're speaking to, a funder, speaking to a client, speaking to, the community leader, political folks, whoever it may be, your story, let's say they walk in the door and they have one perception, let's say, that may have been created. It could be incorrect perceptions. How many sometimes people create incorrect perceptions of us, and then they meet us and find out, oh, that's not what they're saying is not true, And so a good story, all right, can really transform. So Daryl's heard this story. I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's too long, but this is a story from my life And I'm gonna ask you, do you have some stories that you, maybe somebody that wanted to have a story they like to share that changed my life forever, literally forever? Um, and sometimes in the workplace, we can share things with people that can change their lives forever. A client, you know what I mean? A coworker, again, a community person, where a story can transform that person. Now, it doesn't have to be a long story. It could be short, or as Terry alluded to, and I want to keep referring back to that, it could be something that you've done, the way you treated somebody, the way you supported a community initiative that tells that story that people never forget. So this story, as this story goes, my wife and I were told that it was medically impossible to have children. Medically impossible. And so we met working with youth. And so we couldn't quite understand after we got married. We're working with all these young people, you know, but you can't have kids. So, you know, I'm just going to let you know, I'm a man of faith. So I said, well, you know, with all the doctors telling me no, let me try what I know to be true in my life. And so I said, well, I'm just going to be confident in the faith that I have in God and the Son. And I'm just going to put it out there. I want children, no matter what anybody says. And so what my wife and I did was we literally got together and started really calling our kids, in a sense, by age order and name. You know, Daryl Jr., Sophia, Olivia, Alexander, Joshua. And so that went on for years, and then a couple of years, and then I had to take it to another level. I said, well, let me really get ready for having a child. And I went out and I purchased a crib and a pack and play and everything, and set up a room. And I put, of course, with my hat on, I knew the first was going to be a boy, so I put my Eagles gear in there. Had a little Eagle stuff in the crib. Just to start brainwashing him early, even though he's rooting for Kansas City right now. But anyway, insult. Boo. And so anyway, but to make a long story short, 2.5 years from that journey, you know, I was at a board meeting and I came home, and at night, and this was back in the day of screensavers, if y'all remember screensavers, but I'm thinking this would be interesting. My wife put on the screensaver, congratulations, honey. In less than 9 months, you're going to be a father. And this guy that's on this call right now was that guy, you know? And then 4 years later, we're in Ocho Rio, Jamaica with some friends. And my wife said, guess what? Pregnant again. That's Sophia Olivia. And then the express version decided to show up like 11 months after that. You know, we had Sophia, and then within a very short period of time, here comes Alexander Joshua. And then the good Lord decided to throw a cherry on the top and bless us via adoption. I don't like to mention too much because I don't look at her as adopted. She's my baby, Abigail Jubilee. And so what I'm trying to say is that story that I'm sharing with you has impacted more lives than you can imagine throughout this country. Because they're like, you mean to tell me the doctor said no and y'all still have 4 children? And I said, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do. And you know what that does to other people? It increases their ability to believe it's possible for them too. You know, so I'm sharing that to let you know that I bet you if I speak to you 3 years from now, you'll remember the story. You may not even see me between now and 3 years, but you say, Coach, I remember that story, you know? And so just wanted to mention that. Does anybody have what I call a transformative story that they would like to share? Anything that was like, it could be education or life, or I just like to hear, and then we're going to dive into some specifics, but anybody have similar, like a story? It had to be similar because this was obviously something that was, you know, you don't see too often. Anybody else have a story that means something to them they want to share?
I'll share.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about transformative, but it was for my husband. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a story about me personally, but I was involved.
Mm-hmm.
My husband told me about his dream car, being a Mercedes. I forget what the numbers are, you know, the model number, but
Yeah.
you know, it's we've been together for over 30 years, but way back then he told me like that's his dream car. So I guess, maybe 26 years ago, we got something in the mail. It was like a postcard from like a dealer, like a Mercedes dealer. And so it was, really nice cardboard and everything. And we have different bathrooms. He has the master bath. And so in his bathroom, I put that card up, just propped it up.
Yep.
And that card stayed there for years. But he stared at it every day, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
And, they always talk about, vision boards and, those sorts of things, and just having something that's, inspirational. And one day the opportunity presented itself for him to buy a used Mercedes.
Wow.
And, he called me and he said, this is like a really great deal. It's not the model that I, have been dreaming about, but it's gorgeous. And so, I remember the day that he, drove it home. And so, he got his Mercedes. And I always
that is so amazing.
Would share that about, vision boards and
Mm-hmm.
having that kind of, inspiration in your vision, for other people, to get that. Now he's on his second Mercedes now. It's the same one, a newer model. And he takes really good care of it. And I call it his, lady, but not in the term of a lady. It's a
I know what you
word.
mean. Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's good. Get on, y'all. You guys don't use the emojis. You can go use emoji and show Sherry some love for that. That's it. Now I'm gonna tell you how that's transformative, okay? Because you said it wasn't, but I'm gonna tell you how it is. You put a picture up there, and that picture that he was looking at, right? He internalized, and it caused an action. It caused them to believe it could be done. Can I build upon it if I don't mind? That's what we want to do in our workspace. What do we want to see? See how your story triggered this thought in my mind? See? That's what stories do. What picture do we have of how we're serving our clients? No, what picture do we have of our professional career? What picture do we have of our lives? And so that story is one of vision. That's a vision story. And it tells other people, guess what? It can be done. It's no different than what we said about our kids. You know what I mean? In the sense of we were believing for them, and he was believing for them, but it was still the same. It's still belief. You know what I mean? It's the desire to achieve an outcome. So thank you, Terry, for sharing that, because that's what stories do.
Story too.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
Well,
that's what the
my
day is all
story,
about. Yeah.
My story is I'm a preacher's kid. So I obviously I grew up in the church.
You're a
and
PK. That's like a PK.
Yes, I'm a PK. But my story is more so like my husband, he didn't, but he always like fed off of what he was learning from going to church with my family.
Right.
So my story is kind of similar, but not to you with your with your children, in a sense where I had a hard time carrying. So I always brought premature. My oldest and my second to the oldest are premature babies. So I always had to be on bed rest for the entirety of the pregnancy.
Yeah.
So after we had our second child, I was like, well, we're not doing this anymore. It was too much on us. So that was in the done pile. So I did a Biggest Loser at my job, lost 80 pounds and went on vacation thinking I'm cute. And came back with a little bit more than what I went with.
Yeah.
Okay, unbeknownst to me.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, after
Mhm.
talking to my doctor and my husband, we really was like, this isn't something that we can go through anymore. You know,
Yeah.
my doctor said, you know, I completely understand. You know, if you don't want to go through with this pregnancy, we completely understand. 9 months in the bed is a long time. So
Hmm.
me and my husband was like, Joe, I support you. We went to get blood work, and on that elevator, I was like, you know what
Mm.
am I doing? I
Yeah.
know better than this. You know,
Right.
I said to him, I can't be, well, to rewind, me and my husband, before my daughter had lost our son on his
Mm.
birthday, we brought a
Mm.
stillborn baby into the world. It would have
Oh
been
boy.
his first
Yeah.
biological born
Yeah.
son.
Hmm.
So on that elevator, I said, you know what? There is no way that we could decide that we're not going to go through any more pregnancies and God would still bless us with a
Hmm.
baby. There's just no
Right.
way. So I have
Hmm.
to believe in my heart that I'm carrying your son. And he was
Mm.
like, because this is my husband. He don't think the way I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
He was like, I said, "It's no way." And I
Hmm.
said, I said, I can't do this. We have
Right.
to go through with this. He was like, all right, well, I'll support you if this
Hmm.
is what you want to do. Now, my other
Hmm.
two babies, like I said, I was in the bed for 9 months. But with
Hmm.
this baby, I carried this baby for 8 months without
Mm.
having to go into bed.
Wow.
I was able to go through the whole, you
Yeah.
know, had a baby shower with my
Yeah.
coworkers. I
Yeah.
did all of that. But
Yep.
this is the turning point for my husband. I
Hmm.
said to him, it's time for you to name this baby. He was like,
Mm.
I'm not naming it, because the last
Mm.
time he gave our
Hmm.
son who passed away the name that he was going to get from his mom, which was Sean.
Mm. Right.
He said, I'm not naming him. He said, I'm not going to name him, and then we have to bury him. I said, but you have to have faith. He was
That's
like,
it.
no. So
Yeah.
we was laying in the bed watching TV, and a game show came on, and one of the
Mm.
questions alluded to a Bible verse.
Hmm.
And he asked me, he said, Joe, what does that Bible verse mean? Because he thinks since I'm a PK, I know the Bible inside and out, every single Bible verse. I said, I don't know, just look it up. So he opened up the Bible, and if anybody reads the Bible, not to take this to the Bible, but a lot of times there's like a preface, and it'll tell you what the story is about. So
Hmm.
this story said, and then Jesus named them. It was when
Hmm.
Jesus renamed the disciples.
Hmm.
So my husband said, Joe, what does this mean? And then Jesus named them. And I was like, oh, I said, I knew the story. He was like, Joe, I think it's time to name our baby. And I
Mm.
said, yeah. He said, yeah, his name's going to be Mark. He took the
Mm.
name out of there. And I
Yeah.
was like, huh? He was like, I think God is telling me that it's okay to name him.
Mm.
Okay. My son will be 17 this month. So I say all that to say, when I tell that story, it really
There it is.
encourages people that if you just have faith, you know, anything is possible. You know, and that was the turning point for
Yeah.
my husband. He
Yes.
believed that it was okay, and it
Mm.
was. So I
Mm.
love to share that story because that's a story.
And you
Okay.
have you have living proof you're looking in that miracle named Mark.
Yep.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for your stories. This is wonderful. When we get together on the 23rd, I still work it out with Jennifer. That's what I want us to do. We're gonna talk stories. We're gonna share, and we're gonna dissect and break down and all that, because these stories, keep in mind, if I see you or Terry, I'm gonna say this again, 3 years from now, I'll remember those stories. You may not remember anything I said in this workshop, you know, but I'll remember that story. You understand what I'm saying? Like, people remember, because what does it do? It paints a picture. It tugs at the heart. And listen, remember we said transformatives? That transforms your husband.
Mm-hmm.
It transformed him. He saw that and he said, "Oh,
He did.
goodness, yeah, yeah." So thank y'all so much. I really feel like I could spend the rest of our time doing it, but I want to get to some other things. But thank you for sharing that. Thank you
Before
so
I
much.
forget, if I can interject, Josette hates when
Mhm.
I interject. But and this is really just to Josette because I'm thinking
Mm.
it. A
Yep.
highlighter is a marker.
Mhm. Mm.
So I think I might have come up with the name first.
Only to just Terry was the first
sorry,
person
Terry.
that I shared
Wow.
that I was expecting. And I
Wow.
shared that by showing her the pregnancy test that she
Yeah.
thought were highlighters. Okay, just saying.
That's good. That's amazing. Isn't that amazing? And the fact that y'all even have the experience together with this, that's amazing. So thanks for sharing that, ladies. I appreciate it. So yeah, so I just wanted, to let us know that stories are things that we carry. Like I used to work for Abbott Laboratories in the medical diagnostic division. And I had to do some things there to kind of position some things for employees. And those stories are still being told. I've been away from that company 20-something years, but they're still telling the stories because of the impact it had on people and promotions and all of that. Stories can be transformative. They enter into the heart, and stories lock into the mind. They really do. They go deep into the subconscious. So that's why this is really a good class for us because we know we really need to. So stories are the foundations. This is what structures stand. Now I'm using the form of a house. You got the foundation, and then that house. The strength of that house is based upon, or that home is based upon the foundation. If you ever look in, I live in Florida, and also we used to have a place in Delaware, so we're kind of back and forth. But when you look in Florida, and obviously we know what whips through here every now and then, a lot of these homes don't really get tore up. And a lot of it is because of that base that they have. That foundation is strong. You know what I mean? And so stories are the foundation, which the structure, in other words, the structure of what we're trying to communicate, the structure of what we're trying to create, what we're trying to say to others stand. I speak to youth all over the country, as you can see in this picture here. This is Texas has this thing called Careers in Texas, and they had me down there doing a tour. I must have toured 50 schools within I was there for a long time, and they're just talking about careers and technology and all these different things. And most of it, what we shared with these young people, these are middle school kids, were stories. And boy, those kids came up, kid after kid, just repeating those stories and talk about how that story changed their life or how they can see themselves in the story. So the stories are the structure, and a good story establishes a new paradigm. You know what I mean? So I'm telling you about, we believe in now here's like everybody at different phases of their life that were just, part of a possibility many, many years ago. It became a reality, just like with Mark just said, it's really something. This little one here in the middle, though, she's smiling, but don't let that smile fool you. Little mama, she'll wear you out, boy. She's a sweetheart though, but she's all of 14. All right, so why stories are words, and please write this down. Words, positive or negative, have power. Please write that down. And as you're writing it down, somebody else just kind of jump in, maybe Melinda or Dawn or Dominic. Tell us, what does that mean? Like when you say words have power, positive or negative have power, what is that? When you hear that, what's the first thing you think about? Words, positive or negative, have power. Let me pick Jennifer. What do you think, Jennifer, about that?
Well, I think, as we've been discussing, words have the power to really kind of create a connection, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
leave an impression on people.
Right.
And so, how you say things and what you say,
Mm-hmm.
can affect positive or negatively, the impression that you leave with someone.
Big time. Bingo. Couldn't say it any better. And I'm gonna give you the operative, right? Word that you said. And I want everybody to write this little statement down. How you say it. How you say it. That's what you said. And that's on point. And so a lot of times, again, in my space, my work, I can go in and I can hear people are very extremely proficient at telling me the negative. The negative about person, negative about a coworker, negative about a client. When we were in workforce development running programs years ago, I mean, man, you know, they had names for people, and I couldn't buy into any of it. They called me Mr. Motivation, Mr. Optimism. You haven't done this long enough. You don't know what you're saying. You know, you give it time, and it's almost like they're saying you're going to be like us. And then when we start having success and having some of the highest graduation rates in our youth program and some of the highest job placement rates in our adult programs, then everybody's looking like, what y'all doing over there? And I'm saying, well, number one, we're not joining your party. We're just not thinking the way you think. But more importantly, we're very careful of our words because words have power. So a good storyteller understands that words do have power. Okay. So, all right. So anybody can help me fill these out? And you take a shot at some of these? What about the first one? We have nothing to fear but what?
Fear alone.
Close.
You have nothing
You're
to
so
fear
close.
but fear
Fear
alone.
itself.
Fear itself. That's right. Yep. That was it. But you were right there, Terry. Yeah, fear itself. Because Franklin Roosevelt. Now, anybody know when he said that? Did anybody have an idea when he was taught, why he was made that statement? It was during World War II. And Hitler was going on a tirade. And then Japan was attacking us at Pearl Harbor. And there was a lot of fear in the country. And so he, as the leader, had to give people a sense of calm. And so he just told them and said, don't worry. He's like, don't worry about this. No matter who's attacking us, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. And we went to war, and thank goodness we all today are benefiting from those decisions that made back there. All right, we all should know this one. What did Martin say? I have a what today?
Dream.
Dream. That's right. Do you know I had a chance to sit on several calls with Dr. Clarence B. Jones? And Dr. Clarence B. Jones is the one who wrote the I Have a Dream speech. Wonderful man. He's still alive, 95 years old, still alive. And I was, on a call. My daughter and I were part of an organization that he was a part of, and we used to meet a couple times a month for about a year. It was pretty good. And then here's the last one. Y'all won't know this one, but it's funny. I just thought I'd put this in there because it's hilarious. All right, there's only a few of us fellas on there, so don't take it personal. But that gives you a hint to what this probably may be saying. It said, if you want something said, ask a what? Anybody want to take a guess?
Man.
Woman.
No.
Something said. If you want something said, ask.
Somebody just said it. Jennifer said it. Ask a what?
A man.
And then if you want something done, ask a what?
A woman.
There you go. Notice I put LOL in there. Margaret Thatcher. I mean, obviously you can go either way, but I just, But the point being, these are just words that people have used. But in the case of King and Martin Luther, King and Roosevelt, those were words that have ongoing transformation in our lives. So when you talk about humans and storytelling, humans have been sharing stories for centuries. Stories help us connect with each other and our community, pass on lessons, interpret our feelings, and compel us to keep going. So when you think of a story, and then I really want to emphasize this because we're talking about audience-centered today, that stories are powerful. All right. And so let's take a few moments and talk about that. When we say talk about, what we mean, like, give me an idea of what we're trying when we talk about stories being, transformative, stories being, why is it like that? Why is it that, my friend? Somebody talk to me and tell me why do they have so much power? And it could be anyone. Daryl, why do you think that is? Why do you're in an industry where, and you're doing something more than speaking and training with us too, not helping young people. But why do they have such impact? Just curious.
So I was actually writing about this the other day. So the way I think, the way this is generally seen,
Mhm.
and it's actually proven throughout just the general human experience, is that when we speak, it's very similar to sending out a letter, a positive message or a negative message, and receiving a message back from a loved one, family member, friend, so on. The key idea is when you speak or utter a word, you're putting out a letter, a message that's not going to go in a vault or in a mailbox out, in the real world, but it's going to be in your memory bank. So the key is send good messages. So that way, down the road in the future, some point in time, you can go in that inbox of empowerment, that inbox of uplifting messages. That's the key for stories. Stories do the same thing. A lot of times we have these perceived obstacles in our lives that we have to overcome in order to get to the best forms of ourselves and help others get to that same point. And stories do that really well. They show it's beautiful. It's when you really look at the structure of a story, be it in fiction or in real life, the beginning, middle, end, the hero's journey, so on and so forth, and the overcoming the obstacle, the antagonist, the protagonist, and you see it throughout myths, you see it throughout even modern stories now. So for me as an artist and a lover of storytelling, it's beautiful to be able, because I'm actually writing my own book. You know this, Dad. Yeah, it's titled Exploration. It's a really intriguing story about science fiction and fantasy combined in this interesting way. But yeah, that's a little bit about where I see
That's
stories.
good.
It's transformative.
Good.
Truly.
And
So.
at Ringling, they probably talk to you about this a lot. With your
All the
professors.
time. Yeah, it's
The
tons of
professors talk to you about this stuff,
classes. Yeah.
because you're doing this, like, a lot of animation, the movies, the shows.
I'll tell you this really quickly. So my dad and I, we go to Disney every once in a while just to explore. We do sightseeing, and the vice president of Animal Kingdom came to my school one day and told us about how anytime you watch a Disney movie or go to a theme park, it's all storytelling. But it's not just the theme park. The reason why the theme park is so intriguing is because they bring the stories from other parts and other regions of the world over into that part of the States. So you can be in Animal Kingdom in Orlando, Florida, and feel like you're in Tanzania, or feel like you're in Japan, in Epcot, and feel like you're in certain parts of the world because of the atmosphere, the music, the sound, the culture. And it feels so visceral, so real. So that's the power of storytelling that I see as an artist. So
no, very good. Thank you so much, man. That's very good. And and that's it. And like, I want them to share, because he went to one of the top art schools, and they just basically, this was a big part of what they did. They had to use art to tell stories. You know what I mean? And art, and sometimes it was art that was moving, be it, through animation or whatever. And that's all Disney did. Like, Disney created a worldwide movement by storytelling. That's all it really was. It was just storytelling. And, it's funny. One quick story about Disney that people don't know. When he first came out with Mickey, he called him Mortimer. He was Mortimer the mouse. And thank God for a good woman, man. I'm telling you right now, his wife looked at him like, really? She said, who in the world gonna go see a Mortimer? She said, call that mouse Mickey. And he had no idea that one decision was going to change the world as we know it. And so the message there is, men, listen to your wives. She said, who's going to go see a Mortimer mouse? And so anyway, thank you, Daryl. Appreciate that, man. Sharing, because you went through 4 years of professors probably rating you on this stuff. And so we're just kind of looking at storytelling from a different perspective, y'all. So that's part of the storytelling is part of the human experience. Back in the like, if you go back over to places like Greece, which I've been, and you go into the pyramids, you see images. You'll see different, and those are just stories. Like, they're telling you through images the stories of their lives. Many, am I correct on the? You know what I mean? They're telling you the stories of their lives many years ago, but they didn't have it. They weren't writing it in words. They were doing it in pictures. Again, with Daryl's space, And so looking at those pictures could tell you what life was like for those people then. So humans and storytelling, this has always been a part. But the thing for us is deeper. Telling your personal story establishes a deeper connection with the person you're talking to. It doesn't have to be an audience. It can be one person. You know what I mean? One person. And so now, and that's why I'll give Jennifer a lot of credit for saying how important this is. We're saying, hey, um, I'm saying something. It's almost like the best way to describe it when you're sharing your story, you're taking something from the inside of you and transferring it to another person. Does that make sense? It's like like when I talk about, you may want to write this one down because it's pretty good. When I train on this a lot. And I tell people, like, this is not a story, but this is a word, the word empowerment. All right. All right. Now, before I tell you my definition, does anyone, let's see. Let me see. Dominic, what do you think empowerment means when you hear the word empowerment?
Um, I guess to confidence.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Um,
that's good. Yep, that's good. Confidence. Okay, anybody else want to take a shot? What is empowerment? Just like something real quick. Like, what does it mean, empowerment? Yes. Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I, I, at its core, I truly think, and this is seen again in a lot of stories, mastery of self leads to mastery of everything beyond.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, I like that. Good.
Yeah,
All
so to
right.
speak.
So
No, it's good. Both you and Dominic are right there. But what I want to share with you is this. Please write this down. All right. Empowerment. So empowerment typically is something that a person does to someone else. Like it's an empowerment, or empower. So when you think of empowerment, here's what I want you to write down. Empowerment means taking what's inside of you that you see about a person and getting them to believe it. Please write that down. Empowerment is taking what's inside of you, in other words, what you see in another person and getting them to believe it. That's all I do in my career. That's all. Melinda, that's what Terry was doing with you. That's exactly what Terry was doing. When she said that she started breaking down what you bring to the table and that you can communicate, she was saying, and this is important because we have an example of it here, that's what she sees in you. And guess what? Your response showed us you got it. So you're never going to say you have a fear of speaking in public again. Because you really don't, based upon what your colleagues are saying, your peers. I mean, people in the workplace, they see something in you. And so I'm just saying this to say that, in telling your personal story establishes a deeper connection with the audience, and so it's a form of, I guess the best way to describe it is you're taking something from inside of you and you're saying to the person, hey, you know what? I want you to understand this, embrace it, because there's meaning in what we're trying to communicate here. And so let's connect it to work. And then I'm gonna give you some time to do something. We got a few more moments and I'm gonna block off about 20 minutes or so. And I ain't gonna run my mouth anymore and let you work on some things. But when advocating for your work assignment, your personal story can help you connect. Okay. This time, when I'm gonna send these to, I'm also gonna send the slides. I want you to have the slides. All right. Connect with others and motivate them to see the significance of your work. That's the beauty of the story. When it comes, as unique as your story is, the people you tell it to likely share some of the same experiences or values that drove you to give it your best, and understand your passion will inspire them. So, like for instance, if they walk into your agency or your organization and they have, what did you tell me about your work assignment? And then you explain it to them, they may not even know much about your work assignment, but then they hear it, like, man, that's a pretty significant role. That's a pretty significant role. And so that's why, we're trying to take this down to, and I like, what Dawn was saying, those buckets. What are two, please write this down. I want you to come up with 2 or 3 stories that you're ready to, yep. That you're ready. That's it. Well, I see your message, Melinda. I just caught that. That's very nice of you. Yep. And so That's what we want you to do. We want you to come up with two. So, but this is what we're going to do. We want to make sure that it's stories, you know, that it's going to different audiences. Because the benefit of audience-centered stories is this, is establishes a common ground. Stories that resonate with the audience experience, all right, it has a little bit more personal meaning, can make the speaker's insights more practical. It helps you to build rapport. When I worked for the medical sales company, Abbott Laboratories, this is something I was really good at. I was really good at rapport building. As a matter of fact, I was so good, they started traveling me, taking me all over the country to teach the different sales reps how to build rapport and then adapt to changing needs. Audience-centered stories can help our organizations, this is more of an organization standpoint, right, stay relevant by adapting to client and societal changes. How many of you would say, and just by just some type of emoji, would say that the pandemic changed our clients? Like, you know, if you go down and react, you can hit a thumbs up or something like that. You know, how many of you would agree, or you can put, yeah, it changed our clients. And so we have to, in essence, realize that that change was made, and how do we reposition the way we do things to be able to meet them where they are? You know what I mean? That's really what we're trying to communicate here with this. All right. And so just 1 second. Why is this acting crazy? Not allowing me to show. Okay, there it is. All right, just 1 second, please. For some reason it's acting up. So we'll get it fixed. There you go. All right. So one, you know, again, for me, I'm not gonna share this story, but my mother's my mother's influence of workforce development, because of workforce development, is why I'm here today. What they did for her, the story's too long, I don't want to go in it, but that story, you know, led to what I'm doing today. Workforce development impacted my mother. I said I want other people to be impacted like my mom was. Now I am here in this career. And yes, that's me many, many years ago with the sort of melon-shaped head there. Oh my goodness, I had a jug on me, y'all. So anyway, marketing experts realize the power of impacting mindset via consistent positive communications. So what we got to realize is that we need to have some stories, positive stories to tell. So who are we telling these stories to? We're telling these stories to maybe funders. Now, it may not happen all the time, but these are just 3 audiences. I want you to write these down: funders, clients, or community. Or if you're sophisticated, you can shift Command 3 and just, you know, you got the picture. Funders, client, and community. Okay. So like with funders, all right, funders invest in impact, not just ideas. I'm not going to read all of this. So their thing is, and I know because I've dealt with them a lot when I was running my own programs, they want to know what's the impact of this funding that's coming, that we're giving you. So crafting a personal story helps you to give them real world results or solutions, okay? And then with them, of course, keep it authentic and passionate. Funders want to, you know, want to connect with the people behind the mission. So let them see your commitment and the lives you've changed. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the field doing the work, but you know what? You're part of the organization. You're still changing lives. So that's funders. So kind of get a feel for this one here, funders. Then community leaders. Community leaders want to see real impact as well, not just statistics. Like when the community leader comes in and they hear about, Montgomery County and works, or if it's Delaware County, whatever county you're in, Berks County, Bucks County, whatever. They want to know what's like when we were running our workforce programs, the thing they looked at a lot in our community was the number of young people that were graduating from school. And fortunately for us, we had a pretty high graduation rate. So that made our community say, man, they're doing some great work over there. And so our community opened up to us. Now, I'm not saying that's the only reason why. They were with us as we were building it too. But once you start seeing the results, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this organization is a pillar to the community. And then community leaders are invested in long-term change. So emphasize job placement, financial stability, community impact. So when I'm talking to them, these are the things I'm talking about in my conversation. Now, when we talk about telling stories to these subgroups, I want you to understand something. I'm not saying it's to stand on the stage, you got an audience. It's you crafting what I said a little bit in the last session, sort of a signature story, maybe 2 or 3 of them, as to the impact you had with a person, place, or thing. And what I mean by person, place, or thing, because not everyone is in front of people. It could be somebody on your team as a leader, the impact you had with them and how they produced as a result of your leadership. And so community leaders are invested in long-term change. So, mention that. So that's important. And then clients, I don't even have to look at this one to tell you with clients, they just like there's 2 things I find that clients really like. One, they like transparency. All right. They literally, no, I'm sorry, that's my phone. All right, sorry about that. And so with clients, they want to know you're real, that you're human. They just do. And a lot of times, if they don't think you can relate to their world, it can be difficult. But when they see you, the human side of you, that you're not perfect, then it seems like they open up. Let me stop right there because that's a big part of your work. How many of you understand what I mean by that? Just like, again, by emojis. If you want to go emojis or pop something in the chat feature, they really, when they feel like they can connect with you, it just literally changes the way they interact with you. Like what I found is, and I've asked a lot of clients, what's the most important thing to you when you come into a workforce development organization? All right. The big thing they always say is trust. I want to trust them. And trust is something that's earned through relationship. So sometimes sharing these stories can help to build trust. All right. And so that's the clients. And so building your story. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little bit of fun. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes and then we're going to come back and, but let's take some time to build a story based upon one of that categories dimension. Okay. Funders, clients, and community leaders. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break you up into 2 groups. You're not going to build your own story at this point. I want y'all to build a story. Now, you may take a person and build a story together with that person. That's okay. Or you can just create a scenario. But I want you to get used to building the story. Now, let's go back and take a look. Let me go forward. So the big thing is whether you want to, what you want to do is you want to paint a picture and look at a challenge if there was their challenge. What's the solution? And so make sure you screenshot this, okay? Category 1, all right? Challenge, solution, and then benefits to the listener, okay? Category 1, paint a picture. I had an opportunity to work with a young man by the name of Corey Parker many years ago in workforce development, my workforce program. Corey was a young man, so I'm painting the picture, all right? He was in our program. Category 2, challenge. Corey had a 0.05 grade point average. He was kicked out of schools. He didn't take school serious. That's the challenge. All right. In category 3, solution. We came together as a team. We said we're going to build a relationship with him. We're going to listen to him. We're going to put him in position in which he would do things that he wasn't comfortable doing, but it was going to make him better. And we were going to build trust with him. All right. And as a result, he ended up going back in school with a 3.72 grade point average. Now, what's the benefit to a listener? If it's a funder, it shows that funder. The benefits of that funder would be the fact that this is what we're doing within our organization. As you're funding our organization, these are the kind of things we're achieving. If it's a community, we got another high school graduate. More high school graduates we have in our community, the more economically solid our community is going to be. You see? And so, so you look at and to the client, if there's another client, hey, the same thing we did with Corey, we want to do with you. We just need you to work with us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so it's like you look at the scenario, the challenge, the category. Please, I hope that you're getting these 4 because you're going to go into this group for about 20 minutes. I'm going to give you time. And I want you to build one out. All right. And let me go back again. And let me go back. Oh, I'm just not going back. Oh, and so it would be for maybe a funder, clients, or community leaders. All right. And y'all can just pick one. And then so and so paint the picture, create a memorable opening, challenge. After the challenge open, describe the challenge or problem that you're facing, that you're asking with solving. How does your daily work create solutions for this challenge? And then, benefit. When a salesperson is selling something, the benefit. Why? What does it mean? So benefit. Let's go. Solution, challenge, paint a picture. Okay. So y'all got that? Everybody good? All right. I'm gonna put you in groups of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just gonna do 2 groups. All right. And then in your groups, come up with that, like just a quick. It doesn't have to be long. You know what I mean? Just a quick story based upon one of the categories: a funder, a client, or community. Rooms. If you have any questions, ask them now before we go in. Any questions? I think you all may be clear with this. 2 rooms. One room is going to have 4 people, another room is going to have 3. All right. And so y'all work together, make it happen. And I'll see you in 20 minutes. All right. Gotta accept the room.
Coordinating for the last
Okay.
and how she kind of came across it, and
Okay.
she has a personal experience as to why it had inspired her to bring it to the table to our youth in Montgomery County.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's good to, obviously we know there's got to be a great need, for that. So yeah, so the goal here was just for you all to work together collectively on the structure of it. Let me just share this with you one more time, because I want to make sure now, when you go away from today, that you work on this. You know what I mean? That you work on it. The goal of the 25th and coming together will be to, one, do what we kind of did today. We'll share personal stories with each other, all types of things, but then also to look at kind of helping to hone the story, like get a little bit more polished, but we'll listen to some of the different things you have to say, and you'll get a chance to meet me in person. Hopefully I'll have my Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl jersey on at that time when we win. But yeah, but think about this, again, category, paint the picture. Category 2, to challenge it. So what's the challenge, if there is one? It may not be a challenge, but it may be something you're trying to do. You know what I mean? As mentioned, like build a youth program or something like that. The solution, and then the benefits. Because whenever you're sharing a story, the goal is how is the listener going to benefit? Again, if it's a funder, it's like, okay, you're using our funds well. If it's community, okay, people are improving because of, being in our program, your program. And I got to tell you a funny story with that real quick. When we were running programs in Delaware, we were in Delaware County, and we were in Delaware. It was funny because in Delaware is an interesting state, because if you're not from Delaware, it takes a while for you to make the connections to folks in Delaware, and so they didn't know who we were, and they were circumspect, and everybody had their thoughts. But then when we started having success, then people like, oh, okay, they're legit, they're for real. And then, we went on and built some neat work in the state, So again, we had to sell even to our community. And so the benefit to the Delaware was we're starting to graduate kids in that community, so much to the point that the mayor reached out to us and said, could you help build a youth council for the city? And we literally went and built a youth council for the city that we broke it down into their councilmatic districts, where each district had 4 young people. It was incredible. And those young people were contributing. But that was a byproduct of Mayor Sills, who's the mayor back then of Wilmington, saying, I like what you're doing. He even gave me what do you call them things? When you get the days, I don't know, like a proclamation. They're like, man, I feel pretty good about that. I got a little Coach D proclamation. And for the work we were doing. And so anyway, so anybody, we only got a few moments. You don't have to tell a story or whatever, but want to share the experience, and we're gonna wrap this up and give some takeaway assignments, and then we'll see if we can all get together on the 25th. Anybody want to share? Yeah, go right ahead. Mhm.
So going through the structure of building a story, it's interesting to see how like stories are like sort of like a problem solving tool. As you craft out these characters. But as we were building up our character, Dave, we were playing around with the idea of, where he lived, what he did, career-wise, but we had to sort of sift off something from the top. We had to sort of eliminate something in his life that made him felt a sense of pressure. Give him a sense of, okay, he needs a sense of relief, like there's a crutch in his life. So what we did was we had his parents live with them, his aging parents who are getting older and who need severe help and care, and he was looking for a place for them to stay, insurance, financial aid, and what he was going through a lot and on his job. So this is what we talked about. We came up with a solution right on the spot, saying, okay, somebody would point him in the right direction. We'll give him the best location at the greatest rate. But I'm like, okay, so let's get there. Yes, that's great. But let's backtrack a little bit and talk about how, and sometimes, in life, we will feel these moments where, okay, we feel a little bit weary or hopeless, like purely, like completely hopeless. And then boom, a spark of hope will ignite the next day. Usually it's not in the moment that we like, but it'll happen in the most unexpected way. And usually that takes place. And then we talked about leading up to that moment of, oh wow, the coworker on that day, as they were feeling really gloomy on that day, that morning, they had a complete 180 because of the news that they got, which was, oh, there's this place that, that great price, great staff, so on and so forth. So that's what we were talking about with this story.
Good. Very good. So you're talking about breaking it down the story.
Breaking down a story, yeah,
Breaking down
problem
a story,
solving. So,
So that's good. Let me say this because I'm looking at the time. Boy, time went by fast. I wanted y'all to spend time together
in this space. And let me give you some takeaways from today. And thank you, Daryl, for sharing that. Number one, what I want you to work on is to go back, and if you can, this thing is really not going forward or backwards. Work on the story. Let me go back. That is in your particular job assignment. If you're a leader, it could be a story about one of your staff, how you're impacting staff, to do their jobs better. If you work with clients, a success story about one of your clients. You know what I mean? If it's community leaders, it's you communicating that success. No, with clients, you're communicating success of other clients so that they'll know it can happen for them. And with community leaders, let's say you're sharing the story using the client scenario of a client that achieved specific outcomes and how your position and maybe even organization helped them, And so that's the thing when we're talking about story building here, the story that you're really building is the story of success that you're having in your job assignment. Okay. And so that's what I said. It's like with funders, again, it's breaking down how you were able to help someone to achieve success so that the use of their funds is being allocated effectively. So that's what I want you to work on. Think of one for funders. I'm going to send you you're going to get you're going to get the PowerPoint and you're going to get the video. And so when you come next time, just come prepared. Even if you're not fully completed with all of this, come prepared to at least have a conversation about it. And my hope is that day we'll just have a lot of fun, enjoy one another, and really continue to build our storytelling. Now, before I go, just going back to what Daryl just shared and many others, I think that this course, which is trailblazing for our industry, just to let you know, it's not a lot of people in the industry that have gone through this kind of training, is not just going to help us in these categories. I think it's going to help us if somebody invite us out to speak or share some thoughts with them about certain things. So it's going to have tentacles. It's not going to just be locked into this. I think it's going to have tentacles into other areas. If you're working with young people, which we are nothing but storytellers half the time working with you, then this could be a benefit there. So even though the goal of this training is to really look at how do we position our stories more effectively in our core areas. Keep in mind, in particular, being trained by a person who does keynote speeches and trainings, that this model also works when you have to go into a larger situation where you may have to share some thoughts to people. Then that's when you talk about the opening, 3 points, conclusion, that kind of stuff. All right. So let's make sure you're going to, start working on your own time. There's something for community leaders, clients, and funders. And more than ever today, we need to be able to share our stories more effectively. Especially with funders and what's, there's just a need. So paint that picture, challenge, solution, and benefit. And so create a funder story, create a client story, create a personal story. Just some things to think about as far as before our next meeting. I will be sending this video out, and so you'll have that to work with. And then we're looking at a live event. Hopefully we can get as many people as possible to make it, and there. And thank you, Dawn. Appreciate it. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Terry. And everybody, and Dominic and Josette, and everybody for being here. Jennifer, Melinda, Daryl. Hopefully you got a lot out of it today, and we'll just keep building on it. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Take care.
Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Oh, one thing too, if you need to reach out to me, info@coachdspeaks.com. If you have any questions. info@coachd.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Take care
you.
now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.